What is up, good people? This past week was interesting on a couple different fronts for me. One, your boy messed up royally at work one night last week when I was closing, and it's one of them deals where the whole crew kind of gets a little bit of punishment for the actions or inactions of one person, right? Well, unfortunately, this week I was that guy, despite decades of experience. Um, Kind of let some folks down. It happens to the best of us, right? We all get screwed up now and then. But the other way that the week was interesting was I visited the Goodwill bins near me 3 times, which I don't normally go that much, but I do have this habit of when I've had a particularly stressful day, I'll go to the bins, even if it's not likely I'm going to find anything. There's something cathartic about the hunt for me. And because I'm not actively collecting video games anymore, I do still collect movies. Well, certain ones. The movies have to fit the same criteria as games for me. It has to be something I either have enjoyed and loved and continue to love and want to share with my kids, or as something that I could really see myself enjoying. Right. But one thing that I do collect is just odd eclectic little things because, well, your boy's weird. Um, you ask any of my coworkers, they've told me so many times that they'd like to be inside my head for 5 minutes just to understand how this works because I'm such an odd bird. And I've told them I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Well, maybe I would wish it on my worst enemy because, they're my enemies and screw them, right? But I'm drawn to random and everything going on in this meatball between this thick skull of mine is just it goes this direction, that direction, that direction, that direction. There's not really necessarily a flow to it, right? It just kind of, and it could be an ADHD thing. I've never been diagnosed, but I wouldn't be surprised, right? But anyway, this week I was in the bins, getting back on track, and I found two things that I found really interesting. Now, they're both things that they don't have any particular monetary value, but to me, their value lies in their uniqueness and their quirkiness, and they're bound to have an interesting little story behind them. More often than not, these things for me also are a little bit of a piece of history, which I'm a bit of a history buff. So, anyway, I'm going to quit babbling and I'm going to get on to the first item. Now, the first item is a copy of Pulp Fiction on VHS. And you're saying, well, Chance, there's nothing rare about that. And you'd be correct. Pulp Fiction, not a rare movie. And especially, even though it's printed on VHS, which is a format that hardly anybody uses anymore, it's like, why would anybody want that? Well, it's not quite a normal copy. It's Pulp Fiction, a demo tape that, near as I can tell, would have been used in Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, Movie Gallery to have the movie running in the store while people were shopping. And on the back it says that it lists all the upsides to the film to, I guess, trying to sell it to the rental stores. Massive nationwide TV advertising, dynamic life size POP, which I can only assume is some sort of standing visual like they used to have back in the day. Exciting publicity campaign and gigantic rental intent. That smacks of English to me and kind of makes me think that maybe this might have been printed overseas or something. But I had to see if the contents of this tape was going to be any different than, well, what you were going to rent or buy and take home. And it turns out there was really just one key difference. Let's go ahead and dive into that now. Now, it seems that the one difference between this and the standard copy you would have received, whether you rented or bought it, is that it has this little crawler at the bottom informing you that it's a demo tape and gives you a snitch line to call if you rented or bought this movie. And it has this on here and says demo tape because this was not meant for, I guess, wide distribution to the masses. I wonder if anybody called that. Like, I wonder if anybody was seriously snitch enough to call that hotline and be like, hey, yo, FBI. I imagine the FBI had some bigger things going on, bigger fish to fry than some dude bootlegging a VHS I don't have any facts or figures on how heavily that was enforced, but I can't imagine. I can't imagine it was too heavily locked down on. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to have that for me. Knowing that this was a piece of marketing history, and like I said, I'm a history buff, and it's not just relegated to like world history, government, politics, but I also like pop culture history. And to that end, I'm also a big fan of behind the scenes items. And while I was digging through one bin that was filled with a lot of old DVDs and CDs, I came across one. It just really looked interesting, and it's this. It says ESPN Media Technologies Meredith Morgan NASCAR clips. And of course, I couldn't find anything on it, so AI took a picture, and it basically came up with the same conclusions I would have reached, which was this was something that was probably used in the back of the house production end of ESPN. And so I decided to take a look at the contents and just see what was up, even though I could not care less about NASCAR if my life depended on it. One of my best friends in the world, Robert, he's a big NASCAR guy, and we've had this discussion many times. I'm of that mind that it stands for, non-athletic sports centered around rednecks, and I just can't watch cars turn left all day. But I love this kind of thing. So let's dive into it. So I've got it running on my Xbox One here, and it definitely doesn't look like your standard DVD. It only has the one file on it. So I went ahead and opened this up, and it immediately launches into what looks like any sort of NASCAR spot you would have seen airing on ESPN. Again, obviously this is some behind the scenes stuff behind. I was kind of wishing it was going to have like bloopers and just raw takes of this video, but it doesn't seem to be that way. But oh well. Again, still unique to me, and I absolutely love that kind of thing. But what about you? Are any of y'all just into weird crap? And if so, I would love to hear some of your stories about like some of the weirdest crap you found, and just share it with me. Share it with the world. The world deserves a little more weirdness. Anyway, as always, y'all, pick your battles, because not every hill's worth dying on, and I am going to go get my fat ass something to eat. Take it easy, y'all.
Police are hunting a man who allegedly pleased himself over some avocados in Waitrose. Shop staff were reportedly forced to throw away trays of the fruit following the disturbing incident.